Let's take a look behind the scenes of John Wick 4. Keanu Reeves didn't train for 3 months for nothing. The guy has given NASCAR racing a run for their money with his 180 drifts and high-speed chases. Of course, not without a handful of on-set injuries and accidents, though. Let's get into it. This was a major aspect of his training that definitely deserves its own highlight.
I got to do some more driving, and not just any ordinary driving.
Yeah, I'm talking about some extraordinary driving. Driving that you would never want to do with mom in the car. They took the car stunts to a whole nother level.
They're more complex now than they used to be.
And luckily for Keanu, he really enjoyed it.
It was really fun to be in the car again.
He had to do some high-speed 180s and 270s, but the hardest scene he had to master was when he did a reverse 180 and drift while reloading his prop gun and shooting out the freaking door. Major props to Keanu and his stunt team on that one. You should know that after 4 movies, Keanu Reeves is no one to be messed with. The guy must be made of, like, steel or something.
There's car foo, gun foo, and now sword foo. There's lots of fooling around.
He's known for doing as many stunts as possible, so obviously he had to go through some brutal training in order to get there. Like, the guy trained for 12 weeks to achieve what they called the toolbox. Basically, a toolbox of skills that he could utilize for the films. He literally learned how to stunt drive like the pros, the art of judo, jujitsu, and how to professionally wield nunchucks. He describes this film as the most difficult physical role he's had in his entire career. And like, the fact that it took 4 of these movies for him to say that is really something else.
Gun training, martial arts training, driving training.
He's always first man there, last man to leave.
Our guy was training 5 days a week for 8 hours a day, and it truly seems like he was having a great time doing it.
When it's time to hit the gym or hit a specific skill set, he's always there. He's always been incredibly involved.
Of course, it also helps that he's been trained by some of the best stunt coordinators and performers in the biz.
I've never worked with an actor who's willing to work that hard, train that hard. The guy's an animal.
Like, I didn't think it was possible to be more impressed with Keanu Reeves, but here we are. There's a super intense scene where he's just blasting through guys left and right and the camera is hovering just above him. Yeah, that was just multiple really long takes. There weren't a ton of cuts happening in that moment.
It was pretty high pressure.
But luckily, the cameras were automated, so it was a lot less work for the crew. But it didn't take any weight from Keanu's shoulders. He couldn't see the cameras, but they did have certain movements programmed into them, so he had to make sure he was in sync with every one of them. If there was just one little mistake, he had to reset from the beginning. And I don't know exactly how many takes it took him, but knowing Keanu, I would probably be incredibly impressed with that number. Naturally though, mistakes were made. Some of them hospital-inducing. You know there had to be at least a few injuries on the set of this movie. I'm actually more surprised at how few there were.
I made a mistake once and I cut a gentleman's head open.
Ouch! Okay, brutal. That's gotta be the worst of it, right?
Well, one guy got hit by a car. Was in the car. He had to go to the hospital.
Fortunately, there weren't any other major accidents. None that were accounted for in the media anyway, but yeah.
So that really sucked. Excuse my language.
Donnie Yen put a lot of thought into the fighting style of Kane. It wasn't even really about the martial arts for him. It was more about his personality. In any of his films, he never really focuses on the style of martial arts when it comes to developing how his character fights.
This guy, he's a family man, introvert, calm, walk slow, talk slow.
So that's probably not something we, as the audience, would pick up on, right? But you can see those personality traits show up in like every fight scene.
Therefore, his movements is very reserved. He only reacts to an outside force.
Obviously, I'm talking about Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne here.
As you no doubt have guessed, I am Morpheus.
Like, these two are thick as thieves. They've been friends ever since their Matrix days, over a decade ago, so it's no surprise that the set of John Wick is a lot more fun and lighthearted than you'd think. Lawrence's favorite thing about Keanu is actually his sense of humor, so in between getting punched in the face, Keanu is cracking jokes and making the whole set laugh.
He makes you laugh a lot.
Does he?
Yeah, he's got a great sense of humor.
You also might have unknowingly seen them on one of their bro bonding trips.
We've taken some nice motorcycle rides.
not gonna lie. Ever since I heard Lawrence Fishburne describe the stunts filmed in Paris as breathtaking and
Completely off the chain.
it's been everything I've been wanting to see on screen. One thing I know for sure is that Keanu has many scenes where he's moving through, or rather fighting through, hundreds of extras. This was one of the most tedious and difficult scenes to capture, mostly due to the fact that they didn't want anybody getting hurt. The setup for these moments took longer than you could ever imagine, too. So yeah, let's talk about that for a sec.
You gotta go on the playground a little bit.
How long do you think it takes to set up a John Wick fight scene? If you guessed days, weeks, or even months, you'd be right. Lawrence Fishburne says that's one thing he always forgets until he steps onto set. He says everything happens between the words action and cut seem like magic, but it's not. It's all prep. Again, days, weeks, and months worth of it.
That's always fun when you can still continually to expand your own ideas.
I know I talked a little bit about the fight scenes and the Carfu, but I need to shout out the stunt coordinator, Scott Rogers, who actually worked with Keanu Reeves to give us the ultimate car chase scene. Keanu is so dedicated to performing his own stunts that he started training 9 months in advance to hone his driving skills. Like, can you actually believe it? All that work definitely paid off, because Scott Rogers tailored that scene specifically to Keanu's driving caliber, not the other way around.
They actually started getting too good in the car.
So as I've already discussed a lot, Keanu Reeves has a major set of skills. Although yes, a huge part of that was because of all the long, hard hours of training he did. But what makes John Wick so great is that the stunt choreographers work with his natural strengths. They already know how he moves, so it eliminates hours and hours of training him to move in a different way.
We kind of watch him and see what he does best, and then we just figure, okay, that movement looks best for him here.
Even if they don't need that particular movement, if he looks good doing it, they'll incorporate it somewhere else.
We're trying to get it right. We're trying to catch the magic.
Yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room. COVID, unfortunately, delayed this movie an entire year. Not only that, but they also didn't want John Wick to be competing against Top Gun Maverick in 2022 at the box office. So they went ahead and pushed it back another year. It was announced in a teaser trailer that, yeah, was a little disappointing to see, but charming enough to be forgiven.
That's cool. That's kind.
So who else was super bummed about the delays?
I have no clue, but I wish everybody luck.
So I just rewatched all the John Wick movies because of the new one, and I had to know just how they did those crazy stunts. How long do they practice? Is that really Keanu? What would I need to study to become a master assassin? I mean, do they just give Keanu like a fake gun and say, go? I want to know what's the difference between a John Wick fight scene and all the other fight scenes out there that don't look nearly as good. According to the director behind the Citizen Kane of gunfights, Chad Stahelski, it comes down to essentially one thing: preparation. A ton of the movie's budget often goes to fancy hotels, food, and other services that don't really have to do with the movie itself. For Stahelski, all that is out the window. He wants to spend all that cash on being more prepared than anyone else in Hollywood. According to him, the typical 3 or so weeks people spend on making fight scenes is ridiculous. He knows of no one who becomes world-class at something in 3 weeks. Instead, those fast-paced sequences are prepared over a period of months, if not years. The team behind the scenes will beat up the script until the action beats are just perfect. Then they'll design each and every action sequence over a painstaking process of violent brainstorming. Then the actors train for months with not just the best stunt team out there, but actual mercenaries who do this kind of thing in real life. Finally, when it comes time for my man Chad to shoot that scene, they have got it in like 5 or so days of shooting. Of course, there's another step after that you might be surprised about. All these movies might look so real that they could basically be a documentary series about Keanu's side gig as a super assassin, but they have a lot more CGI than you think. Before I break your heart showing you the CGI behind the scenes, be sure to like and subscribe real quick. That's what Keanu would do. Probably. Okay, so it's super impressive when you see a really cool CGI alien character like Thanos or an entire city get destroyed in an epic CGI battle. That's not the best CGI though. No, trust me, the best CGI is the CGI you can't even spot. When you think of the John Wick movies, you think of gritty stunt work, not computer-generated action. It's not Fast and Furious. Well, guess what? The CGI in the John Wick series is phenomenal. The digital effects team is always working in the background, sometimes literally on the backgrounds. Many of the over-the-top locations in the film that they have these over-the-top fight scenes in are actually in front of a green screen. Though the shot that truly blew my mind was when I saw the big Keanu Reeves motorcycle chase/fight from John Wick Chapter 3 was full of CGI. Keanu may have been on a motorcycle, but he wasn't actually racing through New York City, having sword fights at like 80 miles per hour. I mean, I'm sure he does that all the time in his off hours, but not in the movie. He's certainly trained enough for it. Can you even imagine John Wick with anyone other than Keanu?
Not really.
Well, that really couldn't have happened because the way those movies are shot pretty much require someone with Keanu Reeves levels of training to do it right. Most action movies like this feature quick cuts or special tricks to hide the stunt performers switching out. A John Wick fight scene keeps the camera on Wick himself and just pans around with him as he delivers carnage left and right in a ballet of blood and bullets. There's really no way to hide a stuntman's switch, so Keanu Reeves is doing it like 90% of the time. That means he's pretty much got to have enough skills to be a pro assassin in real life. Seriously, look at this dude running through the gun range with Halle Berry. If he ever needed to retire from acting, he could have a legit career as an assassin that would probably be at John Wick's level. There's no way 90% of real-world assassins have this kind of skill. As you can see, that requires months of judo training, weapons training, driving training, all as prep work. That's just to provide general knowledge and muscle memory. After watching him do all his training, I want to see him fight Tom Hardy in a real judo match. $20 on Reeves. After he gets his training down, then he has to do incredible amounts of rehearsal so that the fights look just right. For the fourth film, he had to train for 3 months to get all the choreography down. That included learning new skills like nunchucks and more driving techniques. What's truly insane is that he had to combine all his skills into one next-level stunt in Paris. While driving, he's got to do a reverse 180, drift around the Arc de Triomphe, reload his gun, and then fire out the door, all with the kind of precision we would expect from Mr. Wick. I mean, if they let him do all that, what would they not let him do? Knowing that Keanu Reeves does 90% of the stunts in the Wick movies makes me want to know, when is it not Keanu Reeves? I'm the kind of fan who watches The Mandalorian and tries to figure out when The Mandalorian is actually Pedro Pascal under there instead of his stunt doubles, Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder. Truth be told, it's pretty easy to tell when it's not Keanu. Just look at any instant where John Wick is hit with a car, nearly lit on fire, or thrown around excessively. Because while directors may have to have a panic attack watching Tom Cruise fling himself and the actual film into horrible danger, Chad Stahelski has no interest in being the guy who offs Keanu Reeves. Don't get me wrong, he's nothing but praise for Reeves and his stunt cred. Stahelski used to be a stunt guy, one who actually stunted for Keanu during the Matrix movies. And he actually said when it comes to driving a car, handling a gun, or remembering fight choreography, Reeves is actually better than most pro stunt performers out there, including himself. So he feels pretty comfortable with Reeves doing all that dangerous stuff. Just anytime you see Mr. Wick get thrown off a building, wrecking a car, getting stabbed, getting slammed into something, or just generally beaten to a pulp, that's probably his stunt double. You don't notice it because that next-level CGI team edits out the stunt performer's face and puts in Keanu's. That's all well and good, but if I was in one of those dangerous scenes and I didn't get to work with Keanu, I'd be so mad. According to pretty much everyone, he is a joy to work with. Of course, the only question I really want answered is what it's like to work with Keanu Reeves on these movies. Unsurprisingly, it seems like it's pretty awesome. Lawrence Fishburne is the guy most likely to show up in a Keanu Reeves movie. He's seen Reeves go from Neo from The Matrix all the way to full Baba Yaga mode. As far as filming the Wick series goes, Fishburne didn't have the best time. I mean, don't get me wrong, he loves the series, and he loves the Bowery King, but making these movies is apparently super tedious and slow. No wonder he's done so much TV lately. As far as Reeves goes though, Fishburne basically said John Wick Chapter 4 was the most hardcore he's seen his old kung fu buddy go. He said the judo Reeves showed off was literally next level. That's Keanu's buddy though. How much can we trust his word really? Well, Donnie Yen, Ip Man himself, does not hold back when it comes to his American movies. He recently called out pretty much all the American films he's done from Rogue One to even John Wick 4, saying that they all tried to play up the same stereotypes that he had to put his foot down about. The man badmouthed his own movie right before its release date, so his word is pretty trustworthy. He actually said that his time with Keanu and Chad Stahelski was the best time he's had on a Hollywood movie. If Donnie Yen says that you're a nice guy to work with, You know it's true, because he would definitely tell everyone if it wasn't.
So have you guys ever wondered what John Wick looks like under all that CGI? Well, ever since I found these behind-the-scenes videos of how they make the John Wick movies, I've been obsessed. And it's not just because I'm a big Keanu Reeves fan. I'm a huge Keanu Reeves fan.
You're breathtaking!
I know that if you're watching this, you're a big Keanu fan too, which is why you'll be happy to know that he actually did all his own stunts for the John Wick movies. No CGI there at all.
He can do everything. He's just as good as any stunt guy out there.
Even at age 50, Keanu Reeves is a professionally trained martial artist, but he didn't get those mad skills from taking a spin class.
And being over 50, the physical limitations that one gets at that age has to be overcome with even more hours of physical fitness training.
For 5 months before filming, he literally trained 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. That's like working out as a full-time job.
When we train him, we'll go for hours and hours and hours, and he just won't stop.
During those 5 months, Keanu focused on fighting, martial arts, and all sorts of totally awesome moves.
You don't get to show up and do what he does without having a stellar work ethic.
And obviously, he's also a certified stunt driver.
He's a phenomenal driver and stunt driver, and that allowed us to be able to put him in a lot more of the shots.
It took them like 3 months to choreograph this taxi warehouse scene with Keanu at the wheel the whole time. If Tokyo drifting through the streets of Manhattan wasn't cool enough, the stunt team also elevated this ramp to give the Mustang some serious air when it launched onto the street. Although, I'm not sure I'd feel totally safe if he was my Uber driver. No offense, Keanu. Okay, confession time. Keanu Reeves doesn't do all his own stunts.
Well, yeah, I could get hit by a car, but, hospital.
When a scene demands just a bit more action than Keanu can give, he calls in the pros for some backup.
John Wick will get hit by a car, and that's Jackson Spidell.
You guys, just a side note, Jackson Spidell is like the king of stunts. Besides John Wick, he's been in a ton of Marvel movies. Honestly, I think he's too cute to be a stunt actor, but that's just me. Sorry, moving on. But speaking of cute.
Is that the dog? He likes you.
No CGI here. The John Wick dogs are totally real.
As far as dog movies that I've worked on, this is one of the most ambitious, without a doubt.
Apparently there's this corporation called Animal Actors International that's like this database of animals who act. I wonder if Danny DeVito is represented by them. Kidding! We love you, Danny. But that's where the John Wick people found all their canine actors who honestly all deserve Oscars. They're so talented. A very special beagle named Andy played the part of Daisy, who unfortunately had a limited amount of screen time. I'll tell you what happened to Andy after they finished filming John Wick in a sec, but first, I gotta touch on the CGI. So we all know CGI can be used for a ton of different things, even stuff you wouldn't expect, like lighting, de-aging, technology, sorry, shiny Robert De Niro, fog, even kissing.
We set such higher standards on the first 2 movies that you always have to kind of one-up it.
But apparently this technology is a lot more complicated than I thought.
We got to put things on the edge of what's real and still make it cinematic.
Okay, I know most of the CGI in the John Wick movies are super legit, but there was one thing they faked that I just couldn't get over. This, right here, was CGI. And it cost the filmmakers $5,000. Seriously, guys, couldn't you just get chocolate or something? Well, they did spend the rest of that $25 million budget pretty well, though.
This suit sucks.
Did you know green screens are green because green is the furthest color away from many different skin tones? So when CGI is added in post, the character's skin won't get canceled out in the final cut. So does that mean I should wear as much green as possible if I'm camera shy? Well, what if I want to be totally invisible? I should probably wear one of these full-body green screen outfits the VFX team used to film this motorcycle scene.
Yeah, we just wanted to put some dudes in green suits, really. It was pretty great. I just wanted to embarrass the stunt team.
This motorcycle scene was actually inspired by a similar fight scene from the 2017 South Korean film The Villainess, which Keanu and John Wick director Chad Stahelski had both seen and loved.
We started trying to figure it out, and we're like, oh, this is what they did. This is really interesting. It was like a puzzle we tried to piece together.
Well, I'll tell you why this was the most difficult scene to film. But first, I gotta give you that update on Andy the Beagle. Well, shortly after Andy retired from show business,
he was adopted into a loving family who renamed him Wick. That's so cute!
Daisy. Of course.
Dogs weren't the only live animal on the set of John Wick. Do you guys remember when Keanu rides a literal horse throughout the streets of the city? Not only did Keanu have to learn stunt driving for these films, he also had to learn stunt horse riding.
Chad was like, time to train on a horse.
For real, it's all legit.
It's John Wick. It's like, it's just, instead of just riding a horse, you have to have a gunfight.
Well, apparently it took Keanu hundreds of hours to learn how to ride, but that just goes to show how talented and devoted he really is.
Riding a horse was too easy for Keanu Reeves, so we had him do trick riding.
Ain't that one good-looking cowboy?
This has been something we've been working on for a couple months to try and get this thing right.
So the motorcycle fight scenes were definitely the most difficult scenes to shoot.
We have a CGI sequence. It's been challenging because it's so outside of what we normally do.
The filmmakers used a combination of studio green screen stunts.
The stunt team worked out the choreography first, and then everything else will come after that.
And live action shots on location in New York for some high-speed action. I'm serious, they had stunt bikers going over 100 kilometers an hour for these shots. Then they CGI'd Keanu's face onto one of the stunt drivers for the final cut.
Everything we did had to have a visceral reaction to the audience.
Okay guys, now this is some real movie magic. For this motorcycle scene in particular, the VFX team had to add CGI to shots that were 1,000 frames long. That's 1,000 different images that had to be altered individually and seamlessly edited together to create a continuous image. And here I thought editing Instagram reels was like serious editing.
There's more of a partnership with stunts and visual effects than people know.
Turns out there's no ChatGPT for movie making.
Hey computer, make me an epic fight sequence.
So how do they make it safe for the actors to pull off these sweet moves? You remember that famous fight scene that seemed to take place in that knife museum? Well, all that glass? Special effects. Well, some of it was real also. Special custom-made glass to show up better on screen and only explode on cue. It was visually edited in post by the VFX department to give it that shiny cinematic look. So many of the physical props in John Wick were real, which probably made it easier for the audience to get lost in the magic of John Wick. Well, I can't help but be totally impressed with these actors. Like, how hard would it be to keep a straight face while you're doing this kind of scene?
I think if there's any other action actor or actor, there wouldn't be a John Wick. I think he's the only one that could play him.
Alright, I literally didn't think it was possible for me to love Keanu Reeves any more than I already did. Sometimes life has a funny way of surprising you, I guess. But what about you guys? Are you impressed with his sick moves?